Hi, welcome back. I'm Rachel. This is Jason, and we are so happy to welcome you to our channel. If this is your first time here, we love to talk about stories and the lessons that we can learn from stories, all of the themes that there are, and applying those to just real life. We especially love to bring in our faith
And we talk about movies and books a lot,
stories.
stories too. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just stories.
however they come.
Story of life, our
Oyster and
life.
theater in there,
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff. So if that sounds interesting to you, we hope that you will stick around because this is our first of a couple weeks here that we're going to be focusing in on Christmas and the Advent season. This week, we're going to talk about the first theme for Advent, which I never knew really that much about Advent when I was growing up. That was not something that was really talked about. And when I heard about the fact that there were different kind of themes for Advent, I thought that was a really cool concept. So I thought, in honor of me learning about that as an adult, we would talk about those themes. And
Why not?
yeah, they're they're pretty when you think about Christmas. They're kind of the things that you always think about. You think about joy and love, and this first week we're going to talk about hope, which ultimately that really is what to me the Christmas season is all about. It's the thing that, you have a hope for presents. You have a hope for stockings. You have a hope that Santa Claus will be coming down the chimney, right? Even in the secular world.
Right.
But, there's also trying to bring hope to people that are struggling. Even just, I don't know, there's something about the lights and the stars and the bells that all just kind of whisper that there's something special happening this time of year. And to Christians, there's a deeper meaning still, and that's that the hope that Jesus, when he came to this world, brought. And we're gonna talk about all of those things. So
I was also thinking about the hope in there's family that you hope to see again.
mhm,
For those that have family that still speak to each other and have relationship, people don't always live near each other. And so sometimes the holidays gives us a chance to reconnect. And so we hope to see them. And when there's that anticipation. I think hope is anticipation. It's a
mhm,
positive anticipation because you think of things being better than they were. It's something that hasn't quite arrived yet.
mhm.
That's interesting that hope is like the first thing because Christmas is not going to arrive for at least officially for like 3 more weeks. So what you do is you start the season going, it's coming in the
It's
anticipation.
funny. That's one of the things that some people complain about a lot too, though, is that Christmas gets started too early. We start seeing the decorations and stuff coming out in the stores in August, and people are like, "No, it's not time yet.
Right.
We haven't even gotten to fall." But I do love that Christmas is something that is an entire season. It's not just a day. I love the fact that, there's that gradual buildup and that anticipation that happens because it really does echo what you were just saying that hope is about anticipation.
And you
It's
can't
about the
say that about
buildup.
you can't the other holidays you can't say that about.
Hmm.
Like Christmas, it's a whole thing. We noticed that. Nobody goes, "Hey, it's the Halloween season." It's like, no, it's like one day. Or Thanksgiving. Oh, and it's a couple days.
Well, I would venture to say that most holidays are, there's something that we take the time to make special.
It must mean Christmas is really special.
That
Easter and
there's the
Christmas.
decorations and the traditions that are around each of those holidays that is something that we do intentionally to set them apart. And I
Yeah.
think that that's an important part of just of human like existence is having those days that we set apart and that we make special. I think that, there's something very, very special. And I think that, even starting from like God was the first one to give us holidays, right? Holy days.
Well, the first one would be the Sabbath. You shall keep it holy.
Hmm.
So we already have one day that we consecrate, sanctify for his for service as a remembrance. And then these big things happen in the lives of the children of Israel. And they're like,
Hmm.
this is a special day. There were feasts, there was, festivals and different things. And those are all remembrances that I know of. So
Yeah. I think that it speaks to kind of the human psyche that there's, a need to take these special moments to remember, to have those Ebenezers, those places where we go. We're not going to just continue the grind of the daily, and we're actually going to take this time to stop and remember and to think about and to anticipate and to hope for something. Each one of us, year by year, it tends to be different things that we hope for. And sometimes, they're big things and they're important and they're, very solemn. And sometimes they're very light and very happy. But each one of those times and those seasons that we go through are meaningful, and those are the places that kind of the shining stones that when we get to the end of our lives we can look back on and say, these were the special times, these were the special moments. And I don't know.
they're a way also, I think, to do something as a kind of not a slavish ritual, but a ritual nonetheless. So if you experienced something, I don't know anybody alive today that experienced the first Christmas, the arrival of the Christ in flesh that's alive today. So when we do that, we're remembering that moment, that thing that happened. Then when you do it every year, and then when you have your own children, you pass along that kind of ritual of remembrance to them, and they have their own memories that come of that, and their own way of looking after that memory, and it just goes and keeps going. It's a tradition, and traditions can be a good thing if you understand them, but you don't want the traditions to shackle you. You want them to be something
Something
that
that
they that
evolves,
gives
gives
strength
life.
and meaning.
Hmm.
If it doesn't have meaning anymore to you, find a way to reinvigorate that, because there's something important about a shared history, especially one that's connected to emotion and is connected to something genuine. And we don't need to lose those things. Think of them as relics of the past. We need to think of them as something important to go forward. If we don't remember our history, we're doomed to repeat it.
Sometimes they can be those moments that we just want to protect and cherish.
And they may not be
Yeah.
good memories, but when you memorialize that moment, you realize someone did something special, and you want to. It's a time of honor. It can
Hmm.
be a holiday can be a time of solemnity. It doesn't have to be a celebration. It can be a time of deep honor, and and really think about what it meant to those who went through it originally. I speak of Veterans Day and Memorial Day, but Christmas, there is something holy and other about it. It's not just about the secular elements, Santa Claus and the presents and things like that. Jesus is the reason for the season, even though there's a lot of paint that's been put on it by the world, with this corporatism and all this kind of stuff. But there's something special about a child being born in the lowliest of situations that happens to be the king of the universe in physical form. I mean, how could anything be more honoring than that? But also, it is a celebration because we know where that story leads, and we know where that the story is still continuing to this day. It's never stopped.
You know what one of my most favorite things about Christmas is?
No,
Is that it brings out the child in all of us. It's one of those that I think if I ever get so, to be such an old fogey that I cannot enjoy the silliest little things around Christmas and just,
I
find
won't let
pleasure
you.
in it. Like just
I won't let you.
yeah, don't ever let me get that.
Same. Don't let me.
And I think that, even stories about like the Grinch, and Scrooge and in it just you're given permission in Christmas time above all others to just find joy in the simple. and in the silly and become a child again. It's like, yeah, we're going to throw sparkles and glitter on everything, and that's okay because,
Snowballs for some,
yeah,
if you have any snow nearby.
because Christmas time is a time to become a child and to just experience that joy and that wonder again of all of the beauty surrounding the Christmas season. And for each one of us to find something that we hope for Christmas. Because is there anything more childlike than hope? I think that that's something that the older that we get, we lose the
Yeah.
ability to hope for things. We become jaded and we have those hopes crushed over and over again. And we go, I'm just not even going to hope anymore because it hurts too much when it doesn't come true.
Right. And I think William was talking about, just learning more about what's going on in the world. And he was talking about a little sliver that he knew. And the stuff that I knew, I wasn't going to tell him because it broke my adult heart. What would it do to his heart? So it's very easy with this 24-hour news cycle, with the the invention of cable television and social media and the internet. You're inundated with all these reasons why things are going bad, and there's a lot of people who make their bones, as they make their money, they make their living off of that darkness. They can get you to stir in that. We've got to
Rage
get at it.
bait.
Yeah. And the thing is, there's also people that, put out really good stories, whether true or not, to try to get people to do that. So you have to have something that goes beyond all that you see in this world.
When the Hallmark movies go bad.
Yeah. And they're so easy to do though. They just have this little formula, but sometimes that formula
Mm.
works.
There's so many good stories around Christmas that are just simple and they may be somewhat formulaic, but they're just happy, you know? And yeah, then there's those that are just like, what are you even trying to say here? And that is something that, you know, when you're bringing a story or you're reading a story, it's like always, is there a good message here? Is this being uplifting? Is it, bringing something to the table?
Well, you mentioned Grinch before, and they've remade the Grinch, I think, 2 times. They did originally it was Boris Karloff, and he did the animation. It was Dr. Seuss. That one still holds up. I showed it to my kids, and it still holds up. They haven't seen the other ones, and I think it's probably a good thing. There a lot of stuff gets added in because I guess they don't think that they like the feeling of the original, but they add a lot of stuff in. People, and then they did it again, animated it again, didn't work. So the thing is, get back to what makes the originals special. The original things, original stories that we give to one another. Find that kernel in it that's untainted by this world and their senses of humor or whatever they want to do. Find the thing that still speaks to you to this day. And there are a lot of those out there. I could list things that speak to me about hope, but I guess right now I'm thinking about that word anticipation and waiting for Christ to come. And it's the advent. It's an arrival. And I'm just thinking about the hundreds of years since the prophecies came forth. They're still waiting. And is it possible that some people kind of went, maybe it's never going to happen, and they gave up hope, maybe, and then some kept it alive as they read the scriptures and said this could still happen. And there were people that still kept their eyes open. Talking about the magi, the wise men.
Mhm.
They kept up with the prophecies. They looked for signs of these things coming forth, and those are honestly, those are probably the people that I related to most in the story about Christ's coming. Strangely enough, it wasn't the shepherds, but it was these men of reason, of science, of that looked at the heavens, all these things, and just that discovery, and the light going off in their eyes, and saying, something's coming. That's what a prophecy is. It says something's going to come that's going to do this, and you see this, and the signs will be this, and you see the signs, and you're like, oh, you start to get excited. So that's I think that speaks anticipation to me.
Mhm.
That story. I think of the Star of Bethlehem, the documentary about that, where you're looking at, what these different stars mean, and what these, the study of those signs in the heavens, and I think, what would those men think about, when they were puzzling this together, and I think that's what I kind of connect to.
I think one of the things that strikes me when we talk about hope and about anticipation is that typically when we're left to our own devices, we lose hope. Hope comes from outside. And honestly, one of the when I think about Bible verses, the first verse that always comes to mind is, I lift my eyes into the hills. Where does my help come from? My hope comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. And that's, that idea of, I'm hoping for help, for something outside of me, and I can't look internally when I do it. I have to look up. And that really is, I don't know, it's the most striking thing about hope to me is that we need others. I think that as an introvert, I tend to be very self reliant a lot of the times. And I go through my life kind of going, yeah, I'm fine to be alone. I kind of like to be alone, but there's still, in all of us, this need for others, for connection. We can't do life alone. No matter how much of an introvert we are, we need other people to connect with. And with Christmas being about family and about togetherness with other people, it really is the one time of year when we talk about making those connections with other people. We look to give of ourselves. Christmas is about giving. And what are we giving most of the time? We're trying to give hope to people that there's something bigger, that there's something outside of what they currently have. And, a lot of times we're looking to find those that are in desperate circumstances, that have those needs, that know that, they can't do it on their own, and try to give them something.
Now, one thing that I thought about was you said we need others. And yeah, the thing about it is that ultimately a lot of people look to that don't think about, God in the equation, or people of God. They look to something they've placed as a God in their life. They look to either a government or something like that to save them, or this
Mhm.
politician or that person or whatever. And ultimately, we are not perfect people. We fail many times. And I think that's when we connect to the God that never fails, and that never will. That that dependence upon him, he can use us to be that hope for others.
Ultimately, government is a representation of the people, and people fail.
Yes.
What we're trying to do, though, is represent a God who never fails. And that's much harder for us people to do, to represent that love that He has for us and the gift that He gave through His Son. We're trying to give tangible physical witness to something that then points to a spiritual hope that is the ultimate thing that we're trying to give. We start with the physical, with meeting if you're hungry, be fed. If if you need clothing, if you need shelter, warmth, all of those basic necessities, to meet those needs, but then to point you towards, because we're not just physical people.
Right.
we have a whole other element to us, our souls, that need fed, that need that comfort and that warmth and that place to camp. And ultimately, our souls need hope that there is something more. And that, for Christians that's the ultimate thing. Where does that intangible part of us
Mm.
going to end up? And it is something that we all kind of have inside of us, is that recognition of there's more to this life than just the now. That there's something, there's an other, that there's, something to look forward to after we die. To me, somebody that has given up hope is the atheist or the Gnostic, somebody who says there is nothing else after this. This is all there is.
Right.
That is a representation of somebody who's basically gone, there's no hope. There's nothing after this to look forward to.
It's all
Yeah.
here. So no wonder we chase the temporary, the temporal, because that's all that there is.
Mm.
Um, there's even some people that say that we believe what we believe because to believe otherwise or to know otherwise is we're trying to escape hopelessness by hoping in God. And there's quite a
And
few
they
ways
would
to.
call us silly and childlike, wouldn't they? Hmm.
Interesting. The very thing we said Christmas awakens in people. I, when you care about, when someone cares for you outside of yourself and they don't even know you, you're thinking that's wonderful. That person was touched to care about me. But the thing is, though, if we're to be the hands and the feet of the Lord, isn't that a representation of someone outside of myself, beyond, right? Cares for me. And that hopefully that God can use that as an object lesson to help somebody realize there's something bigger going on here than just somebody doing something charitable. I think that's something to think about too. Is you said that the hope comes from outside yourself, because when we hope, if we hope that we can make our situation better, we're still depending upon our own self,
Mhm.
and we're going to fail ourselves. But if there is someone outside of us who's led by someone larger than us, namely the followers of Christ, and I really do think the followers of Christ need to step up. And if there's someone that wants to have a reason to hope, that if we really believe what we say we do, we need to be representative of that hope,
Mhm.
or else someone's going to say, "Who is this God you're talking about? I see no evidence." And we can show evidence with love, and just leave the rest up to God and say, "God, we're your hands and your feet, and we're going to serve you and obey you and do what you put on our hearts to do. And we give their situation up to you to fulfill that hope."
There's an action necessary
Right,
for that to happen. We can't be passive when it comes to bringing that love and that hope.
right.
So, talking about kind of some of our favorite Christmas stories, and I don't know that there's a single story that I can think of around Christmas that, those classic stories that we love that don't have hope in there somewhere. Hope is
Right.
just kind of interwoven throughout Christmas. But let's talk about some of those favorites and just have fun for a few minutes. And hopefully all of you guys, as you are going into Christmas, are also pulling out your favorites and setting up those traditions and reliving those stories. So if you've got some that we don't talk about here, throw them in the comments. And yeah, maybe there's some we haven't watched yet.
Oh, yeah.
Always ready to add to our Christmas list. So we were talking about, our daughter was just in A Christmas Carol,
Right.
the play, and that one's so fun. That one's a classic for a reason.
Well, I think we always think of somebody who the magic of Christmas just they're just it just bounces off them, and they just doesn't touch their heart. And you have this hope that their heart will soften, and they'll let a little bit of that season and that joy in. And so everybody knows somebody who's kind of a grump sometimes, and you want to see those cracks. You want to see, something in those cracks where you're like, well, there's something I can work with. Ebenezer Scrooge is one of those characters that, based upon the story, that that everyone around him is just absolutely happy with Christmas and they're ready for it and they're anticipating it, and he's just like, no.
One of the things that, the hope moments that strikes me is his nephew, right? How he comes every year to keep inviting Scrooge to
Right.
come over. And
Without
he's,
fail,
yeah,
because he
he's
might
met
crack,
with, why are you even trying? Of course I'm not going to come, bah humbug. And he's just like, I'm not going to give up hope. I'm going to keep asking year
perfect.
after year after year. And one day I have hope that he will come, that he'll join us, that there will be a change. Like,
And his hope is rewarded.
hmm
The spirits.
and then you've got that moment when Scrooge is met with his future and he goes, am I too late? Is there no
Is
hope?
there no hope? Is there something I can do to make this not happen? Is it stuck in stone, so to speak?
And what changes the story is him basically going, no, it's not too late. I'm not going to just accept that that's my fate. I'm going to change it.
And,
I
we-
will
and,
be a changed man.
and when he realizes what day it is, he says, "Is what day is it?" And that he's like, "Oh,
Mm,
I'm not too late. I can still make a change. The day is not over yet. The day has just begun,
mhm,
and it's a new day." I was also thinking about his mercy. His mercies are new every morning.
yeah.
So great is thy faithfulness. You know, he's faithful, and so we have something we can hope in. He hasn't failed us yet. So there's a newness in the morning, in a Christmas morning, that means something to me. In that, talking about somebody without hope. I mean, you're talking about George Bailey in
Mm,
It's a Wonderful Life. I will tell you this: it came on TV all the time in places where I would sit down. It would be on TNT or something like that. They show it every year, colorized or not, whatever abomination you think that is. But yeah, and I would kind of just be like, "Oh, okay, just let me know whenever you guys are done with it, or let's see what else is on." And I actually genuinely watched it with William a couple years ago for our
our oldest
podcast.
son.
Yeah, for our
Yeah.
oldest son, for our podcast, and because we were watching a really great Christmas movie and a really bad one, and this was the really great one. And I had a new appreciation for it because I picked up on, when you sit down and really watch it, you pick up things. This is a man who has no hope, doesn't believe that he makes a difference. And he has shown that he does, that he's more important than he knows. He's important to people, not for monetary reasons, but because he's special to them. They're different because of him. And I think we all need to think of ourselves and go a little bit differently and say, you know what, they're people whose lives that I touch and that I can give hope, that give hope to me. I think that's a really special part of that movie to me. Is it's about how Christmas affects people and how the spirit of Christmas and of giving and of family and being around each other. That's what makes that story special to me. Can you think of anything?
Oh, well, Elf. Is that we're going to call that a Christmas classic? It's maybe
Well,
not on the level of A Christmas Carol or
maybe
It's a
not,
Wonderful Life.
but we here in the
It's
Weatherford
one
house have
we
kind of
love to
we've
watch.
adopted it in a way. And no, it's not a perfect movie, but there's elements of it that speak to the childlikeness in all of us and the need to be loved and to love and to know where we come from and who we are and the love of a father.
I love, it starts out with a hope that Buddy has of finding his father and having a relationship with him. Even though he's told, well, he's on the naughty list. Your father is, and he's like,
No.
yeah.
Yeah,
But he also, just through his childlikeness and the entire, the love that he has for Christmas,
you can't shake it
he brings
no matter
hope
how hard you try.
to his father and his brother and his father's wife. Just there's a change there. And then that's the one at the end where don't they have to sing Santa's sleigh?
Yeah, they his his sleigh runs on hope.
Christmas cheer,
Christmas
Christmas
cheer, it
spirit,
runs
right?
on hope. Okay, that's my canon for this episode. Is it runs on hope. When their hope is rewarded when they believe. But the biggest boost to the sleigh is when the dad
Start
he
singing.
but he doesn't have evidence really of the truth like the other ones do. He just right? Am I right? He just gives in and
Mhm.
just believes, gives himself a shot and believes. And that's what does it. And I think that's yeah, that's a special thing. And the love of music and just keeping a positive attitude, and keeping, we're very positive around Christmas, but a guy like Buddy, he keeps that positivity going all year round. I mean, it's 365 for this guy.
Those are all movies. There was there's a book that I just read that is,
Mhm.
yeah, you watched me crying while
I
I was
was I
reading it.
was I wasn't gonna call you out and say that you it made you cry.
It did. I
But it was she told me what a
I
little bit. It
think
was very special. Go ahead.
around Christmas is one of those times when you just, you want a good cry. And it's a cry just because, something has touched you. And this book did that for me. So I'm going to recommend it. And really anything, but I don't think I've talked about this author before.
Okay.
Her name is Kimberly Ray Jordan.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, she's another one that I believe most of her books are on Kindle Unlimited. So she's an author that I've really enjoyed. Her books are Christian, clean romance, and just heartwarming stories. And this one is called Child of Joy, and it's in the We Three Kings series, which is fun because they're all kind of based around Christmas, but it's also about the King family. There are three siblings, they're triplets. And
Ah,
so there's, I believe, just three books. I've only gotten through the second book, but I think there's three books, one for each of the triplets and kind of their story.
right.
But this first one is about the first brother, and he goes to visit a building that his company has purchased that they're going to be demolishing. And there's a few of the tenants. It was an apartment building. A few of the tenants that are still in residence that haven't moved out. The building's going to be demolished in like 3 weeks after Christmas is over. It's the beginning of December when the book starts. They're going to try and figure out, why these people are still there, whether they can, help them to get moved out. And one of the people that's still there is a single mother who has a 8-year-old daughter, and she is basically there because she doesn't have anywhere else to go. She's in that building even though it's falling down and needing to be demolished because it's cheap. And she also, her daughter is in a school that she loves with, teacher that she loves, and it's near a babysitter that helps her out as she's, working. And she's just going, she's trying to find another place to live within that neighborhood so she doesn't have to leave the babysitter in the school. And she also doesn't have a car, so she's got to be with the bus system. And it's just, she's in kind of a desperate situation, but is quick to say, we're working on it, to this man that shows up, the owner of the building, and he's with his manager who's also been there several times. The daughter, the man asks, well, is there anything that you need? And the daughter pipes up, well, we're cold. And come to find out, when they gave the tenants notice 9 months previous to this, they told them, there's not going to be any repairs done on the building. And it was kind of as an incentive. For one, it made sense that they're not putting any more money into a building that's going to be demolished. But it was kind of an incentive to get people to go ahead and move out. But, seeing them there and going, well, as long as they're here, we can't have them freezing in their own building. And so, and also come to find out, the stove has also gone out. So she's been using like a hot plate to cook on. And so,
I thought you were just gonna say to keep them warm. I was like,
no, no, she's been using a single space heater and then a hot plate to cook on. And it's just not enough, but she can't, she just doesn't have the money to do anything else.
Right.
So the owner of the building decides to step in, and, he's going to fix things. And it just, as he's stepping into their lives, and then he is led to then invite her and her daughter to a Christmas party that they have for the children of their company every year. And you find out just more and more of their story and both of them as they're going along. And you see just how their respect for each other grows throughout the time. It's not one of those where it's like, oh, they're just the most beautiful person they've ever seen or the most handsome person, they're swept away by the physicality. It's that they see the character in each other and fall in love. And, the daughter writes a letter to Santa asking for a father for Christmas. And that ends up, by the end of the book being answered for her, with her father falling in love with this man, one of the kings. And I don't know, it's such
Wait,
a
her
sweet,
father falling in love with this man.
no, with her mother falling in love with this man.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. And
Okay.
yeah. But the child of joy thing, you find out that the little girl whose name is Rachel, her middle name is Joy, and the mother is Carissa, who also shares the middle name Joy. So you really have this child of joy that is the one to bring the two parents, both of whom have really lost hope. The man, you find out, and his name is Hunter. Sorry, it took me a minute. His name is Hunter. And 4 years previous to this, his father was killed in an accident.
Hmm.
And his brother was also in the same accident, and ended up being really injured, has had to have a lot of surgeries. And he inherited his father's company. He's been trying to keep going, but he's lost a lot of the joy in doing that. He's struggling. They're still in the grieving process, but they're also trying to carry on their father's legacy, which his father was raised by a single mother and struggled. And so as he's building up his company and building well, he also has had a very strong mission to give back to the community.
Right.
And especially his heart was to bless the single mothers. So that's something that, his son is kind of recognizing and going, this is a way that I can honor my father in helping this mother. And he doesn't look down on her. He understands the struggle that she's been in and is just trying to give her a hand, and yet also respect her and what she's done through at the same time. So that's, an important element of the story. But yeah, it's just a sweet, sweet story. It's well written, and it brings a lot of healing into the story of hope, and ultimately just joy and love and all of the Christmas feel good stuff. So that's a good one. I really like those sweet, just, they're probably considered like Hallmarky type
I was thinking
books,
there's, yeah.
but they're really well done. And I feel like, in a book you can get a deeper level of story and of feeling than you can in a movie. A movie is kind of just goes so quickly. You don't get quite as much out of a typical Hallmark movie, though there are some good ones. But
And there's some really corny ones. But
yes.
I think it's because there is a need.
I don't know why there's so many about princes.
Yeah, or they always have something like where someone's stranded in a town and it's like
The
everybody's
executive CEO who finds out that, a small town is actually everything that they've ever been dreaming of.
right.
Yeah.
Or some dude's a lumberjack, or some girl owns a like a
Bakery,
bakery,
yeah.
bakeries,
A bakery or a coffee shop. That seems to be a common thing.
or
There's a
bookstore.
lot of there's a lot of
It's cozy
books that
stuff.
are,
It's
yeah.
cozy places.
It's like
Bookstore, coffee shop.
that's the formula. You have to have a bookstore, a coffee shop, or a bakery in order for you to have a good story around it. And man, there's
And there's a
something to
there's a
that.
festival or something in 2 days, and they have to do a float, and they got to get the man and the woman together to get to do do it like a project. Because they're doing it like a project, you know, oh, I just want to get my car fixed. Well, since you're in town and you're not doing anything,
Jump in and rediscover the joy of Christmas and small town living.
are you telling
Getting
me
out of
to?
the no,
Because
that's
that sounds
that's
great. I would love that.
it's what always happens. There's something that delays them where they get stuck and then they have to actually slow down enough
Right.
to have that, to see the beauty in it, in slowing down and in the small town life. I think we Americans have a really, really big prejudice against cities,
He keeps picking up the
or at
cell
least
phone, and
Hallmarks.
the girl goes,
Yes.
and she throws it away, and she goes, oh, sorry, I didn't think to do that. I just threw it in the lake. And he's like, oh, my phone. Well, and then he learns to not be tied down to those conversations with the New York executives.
I think those some of my favorite
I'm writing one right now. Go
some
ahead.
of my favorite Christmas stuff are not about the adults. It's when there's children in there. I think that makes something special happen, is when we stop and try to see life through those children's eyes. Like
And
Miracle on 34th Street.
right.
Yeah.
The belief in that. I don't know if William has seen the old one and the new one, but we got to figure that out at some point. But it's especially good when that child can realize what they're missing, and the parents can realize what they're missing. Sometimes it's Kevin. Kevin's home alone, and the bad guys are coming. No, no, I'm kidding. Uh, I will tell you this right now. Everybody
Mm.
considers Home Alone like a Christmas favorite. I think honestly, uh, as my years go by, I'm kind of going less and less that it's a Christmas favorite. I think there's ones that really stand the test of time, and the Home Alone is a little too much about slapstick and those things that we.
I mean, there's a
I don't,
message there. It's just kind of hidden a little bit in the slapstick. But there is, just the it's a very simplistic message, isn't it?
pay attention to where your kids are. Hey, where are your children right now? They did a head count, and they counted one of the neighbor kids as Kevin, and then they left him at home, and they did it 2 times. 2 times. They even make a point about it in the sequel that you already did this. You left him last year or the year before or something. What is wrong with
That's
you?
about taking your family for granted, though, ultimately, right?
Yeah.
Because Kevin doesn't like his family. He doesn't,
He
he's
doesn't
not
think he
treated
doesn't
well.
think they like
Nobody's,
him.
yeah. And through them leaving him behind and then, having to rush back home, there's just actually that realization that, that like the parents apologize to him
Yeah,
for overlooking him. So I mean, there's a message.
of course.
And I think that's, when people put it on the favorites, that's what they're looking for. I'm gonna
Right.
hope that
You think
that's
that's the I honestly, the story that I connect to most in that, yes, is that part of the love of a mother and a son, but the old man that lives in the neighborhood,
Mhm.
and how we look at people many times and misjudge them and don't realize they're going through a lot. And when Kevin finally, little Kevin, when he takes that step to get to know this old man and see that he doesn't have his family due to different disagreements, and he's like, you need to let that go. This is important, because I made my family disappear. You don't want to make your family disappear. And I think that was probably
Mhm.
the part that really touches my heart is that part of it. And that's a special part for me, the music as well. But, I think those are the things that we need to get out of these stories is the special kernel in there, and not the stuff that gets put over the top of it, the glitz and the secular nature of things. We need to get back to those core values that make those things stand the test of time and make them special.
I think that is one of the things that makes Christmas movies so special, though, is that every single one, there is a message, there's a heart, there's a meaning to it. And, there's other types of movies that you can really go through them and there's not really any message. But for
No.
Christmas movies, it's there. There's always
Some
at the
Christmas
root.
movies,
There's
yeah.
something that's just it's going to be heartwarming. There's going to be a message. It's going to be about family or love or hope or
Or
helping
or
others
believing
or yeah.
with your
Yeah.
heart, seeing things with your heart, not with your head.
And it's always about what things are the most important in life. And those messages ring true and are always they're woven throughout all. And I'm sure we
Yeah,
could keep going. There's so many.
but we have more to come.
Yeah.
This
Oh,
is this is our special little mini series that we're doing, I guess, where we're just going into Christmas and taking you through that journey.
and ultimately the thing that we hope for is, Christmas represents that first hope that a savior, that a Messiah was coming. And to us, that thrill of hope, a weary world rejoices, is that a baby was born and that he was coming for a reason, that he was coming to die, but that death would pay the penalty for all of us so that we won't have to die. And even when he left us with a hope. He said, I'm going, but I'm coming again one day. And that's what we all look forward
I'm
to as
leaving you with comfort.
Christians.
I'm leaving you
Mhm.
with a comforter.
That he'll send his spirit. Yeah. But the hope for Christians is that Jesus is coming back, that return will happen, that everything that's wrong in this world will be set right, that there will no longer be the curse in a broken world that has sin and death in it, but that one day every tear will be dried, that we will have eternity face to face with our Creator. And that is the message that ultimately that Christmas points to, and the hope. So on that one, we'll be back next week to discuss the second theme of Advent.
We hope you'll join us.
We do.
I was waiting to say that the whole time. I was like, we hope you'll join us. Like I'm creative or something. I don't know.
There's there's nothing new here, but it's fun anyway.
It's sometimes for some of us it is new. It's something you've lost,
Mm.
something you've overlooked, and when you find it again, all the feelings that come back, they get renewed. And that's what this is for us, and hopefully that's what it is for you, is a renewal. So
See you next week.
see you next week.